Yu was a social reject who joined a band to sing with his crush. However, instead of rizzing her up, he ends up rizzing up a baddie idol girl that is willing to do anything for a taste of his meat. It all started when Yu bumped into a random girl on the road, and lying on the ground, he noticed her peach cover had been exposed, making her embarrassed. She saw him holding his phone up and got pissed, thinking he was taking a picture, so she smashed it on the ground and slapped him. After she left, Yu immediately realized the girl had forgotten one of her CDs. The next day, he went to his new school and thought about the girl from yesterday as he held her CD in his hand, and wondered what kind of girl would break someone's phone. He raised his phone to take a picture of the scenery, but as he did, he suddenly noticed the same girl from yesterday. The girl instantly realized it was the goofball from yesterday taking pictures again. She quickly jumped over to meet him and asked him to hand over the phone, but afraid that she would see her naughty picture on his phone this time. Yu refused to give her. As they both struggled over the phone, it dropped from the rooftop to the ground below, and he sadly stated that the phone was a loaner from the repair shop before heading over to look for it, leaving the girl feeling a bit guilty. As he looked for it, she joined him, saying she wanted to find out if he was really taking pictures of the scenery or of her. He asked her to just call his phone, but she told him she didn't have a phone, which made Yu confirm she was indeed weird. As they continued talking, Yu remembered he still had her CD and quickly reached for his bag to return it, surprising her that he actually kept it. He then told her he wasn't snapping her the previous day either, before going back to search for his phone. The next day, he was introduced to his new class and was shocked when he discovered that the blue-haired weird Jiri was in the same class. Later, after school that day, while Yu walked through the hallway thinking about how he would pay for the phone he lost, he heard one dude disturbing the blue-haired, and while he tried to ignore it since it wasn't his business, he couldn't get his mind off, so he ran to the scene panting like an overweight fool after running. Yu asked the boy to stop harassing the girl, but he instantly became embarrassed when he realized the boy was only trying to get her to join the track team, so he ran off, feeling like he would just disappear out of there after losing so much aura trying to play hero. Meanwhile, the girl walked up to him and gave him his phone. She had helped him look for it, because he too found her CD for her. She turned to leave before she did. She looked at him and introduced herself as Fuka. Following that, bro was on the rooftop again the next day, and this time he was staring at the movie tickets his mama gave to him, asking him to take a friend along. Suddenly, Fuka saw the tickets in his hand and became overly excited because she had been longing for an opportunity to see the movie, since her idol's song was featured in it. A few days later, when they were to meet to go see the movie together, Yu got to the meetup point early, and while he waited for her, he tweeted that he was going to the movies with a random girl. His followers called it a date, embarrassing him because he never saw it this way. Meanwhile, he didn't realize that Fuka was also standing nearby, waiting for him. After waiting for a while, Yu decided to go check another location, in case she got it wrong, and as he ran off, Fuka looked up but didn't see him. So she climbed the statue amidst the crowd and yelled his name, surprising him. He returned to meet her, and they headed to the movies together, where Yu got embarrassed after seeing that everyone came in twos like couples. After seeing the movie, Fuka was excited, and as they headed back, she gave him one of the phone tags they got at the cinema. But while Yu tried to reject it, saying they were not a couple, she replied that they didn't know for sure yet, surprising him. Then she ran off smiling hard and thanking him for the fun. But Yu still thought she was weird. Some days later at school, while Yu headed to class, he suddenly noticed Fuka tearing up by the window, and seeing him, she ran off immediately. He looked down through the window to a guy named Mikasa sitting across and wondered what Fuka had to do with him. Later in class, Yu saw Mikasa getting along with other girls while Fuka just sat in her seat alone, acting jealous. Ro wondered if Fuka liked Mikasa and wasn't cool with other girls coming around him. After the class, the three of them were given the task to clean the pool, and while they prepared to start, Yu tried talking to Fuka about Mikasa, but he reconsidered and told her not to worry. After a few minutes of cleaning, he saw them getting along pretty well and thought that it wasn't his business anyway. As he continued struggling to clean the pool floor, Fuka approached him, offering to show him how it's done like a pro. However, she accidentally slipped and cake planted. She stood up in pain, and as she turned around, Yu saw her plot armor, and things got hard for him. Fuka wondered what was wrong, but Mikasa called her attention to her transparent skirt, making her embarrassed, so she wobbled out of the place, covering her backside. A while after cleaning the pool, Mikasa went to return the cleaning equipment, and while he was away, Yu complained about how grueling it was to have only 3 of them clean the whole pool, but Fuka replied that it was fun. Hearing this, Yu mentioned that it was because Mikasa was there, surprising her. He further said he had noticed she liked Mikasa and always seemed jealous when other girls were around him. However, Fuka replied that she and Mikasa were just friends with no strings attached. Just then, Mikasa overheard them and shockingly revealed that he was a Diddy disciple and liked bending down.
Why are you gay?
You became shocked as he remembered that Mikasa was staring at him back in class. On their way back, Fuka was still surprised that you got it all wrong, but you suddenly asked her why he saw her crying earlier then. She brought out a CD and told him she must have been listening to the song that time he saw her, surprising him. She told him the song was very sad as it was about how badly the songwriter missed the one she loved, and he would cry too if he listened to it. You replied that he thought she was crying because something was bothering her, and she accused him of always jumping to conclusions like an idiot. However, she mentioned that it was not like nothing was bothering her at all though, as she usually felt lost sometimes. She added that she didn't know what to do with her life, and just like you, everything she had tried didn't seem so right for her. She then asked you what she could do, but Bro asked her how on earth she expected him to know. Later that night, while Koyuki, the idol singer, was alone in her room, she received a text from you, as they had been childhood friends. In the message, he asked about her well-being and mentioned that his friend even cried listening to her song, and seeing this, she blushed so hard. The next day, during the PE class, Fuka participated in high jump and seeing her talent. The dude from the other day yelled that she should consider joining the track team, but she remained on her stance not to. Meanwhile, watching from the sidelines, you thought that this was a waste of talent. Mikasa appeared just then and mentioned that she was like a caged bird who didn't even know that she was caged. He told you to break her out of her cage and let her take a flight, since she seemed to be more drawn to him, but you just went speechless, wondering the heck this dude was talking about. After the gym class, in the locker room, Fuka asked you about what he was discussing with Mikasa earlier, but he told her it was nothing. She then suddenly asked if he was free that weekend, but before he could respond, she told him to keep his Saturday and ran off. Later that night, you received a call from Koyuki inviting him to her concert happening on Saturday, but remembering Fuka's words earlier that day, he told her it was fixed already and apologized. On Saturday, Fuka took you to the same concert Koyuki was inviting him to, shocking him because if he had known, he would have told Koyuki he was not available. Meanwhile, in the performers section, Koyuki was nervous. She was getting the opportunity to sing in the concert since it had always been her dream. However, her manager told her she got the opportunity because she was talented, but she objected, saying she only turned her childhood memories about her crush into songs. She had decided to become a singer so that her song would reach him someday. As she stepped up to the stage later that night for her performance, she looked gloomy but suddenly noticed you among the crowd and became excited immediately. While she sang, you was glad that her dream had finally come true. After the concert, you and Fuka were on their way home when she mentioned that Koyuki's performance was different this time as she seemed happier while singing, compared to her previous moods, but you said he didn't notice. Fuka then decided to give her own rendition, surprising you that she actually had a great voice. She then mentioned that she was glad she went to the concert as it cleared things for her. Hearing this, you referred to her once, telling him she didn't know what to do and suggested she try singing, saying she might actually be cut out for music, but she just went silent and walked away. She kept thinking about this later that night, and the next day she grabbed you and took him to a shrine to pray along with her so her dream could come true. When they were done, Fuka suddenly revealed that she had found what she wanted to do. She wanted to make music, shocking you. Following that, Fuka took him and Mikasa to inform a teacher that they are forming a band, and this band will rival the best in the city, shocking you. You tried fighting it and asked Mikasa if he didn't have anything against it. Mikasa showed he was in full support, which further frustrated you. Then, Fuka told the teacher they would need some instruments for starters, and she wasn't sure her allowance would be enough for that. So the teacher suggested they work part-time at a beach house during the summer break. The summer break came, and they got on a trip to the beach house, which left you thinking because he didn't know he would be dragged into all of this when he was giving Fuka advice on what to do. They soon reached the beach house and clocked in at work, but from the moment you saw the business owner, Yasun, he knew he wasn't gonna like him. Work started the next day, and while Fuka and Mikasa worked like pros, you was fumbling harder than you do whenever you see a hot chick, which made Yasun yell at him for acting dumb. Bro took this personally and went over to sit in a corner, thinking about all his life choices up until this point. He even made some tweets about his predicament, and just when he considered going back home, Fuka interrupted, telling him not to even think of it. You tried telling her he wasn't good at anything, which was why asking him to join the band was also a wrong decision. However, Fuka told him she knew him to be a person who always tried his best, which was why she wanted him in, as she wouldn't just allow any idiot to join anyway. She hyped him up, and afterwards, you went on to bag the MVP of the day, handling every customer's order like an expert until he was exhausted, making Yasun happy. The next day, while you and Mikasa sat at the beach, you thought aloud, wondering why Fuka was so bothered about him. And Mikasa mentioned that he had once told him that Fuka was more drawn to him and acted differently toward him, unlike everyone else. Mikasa finally mentioned that what was more important in this was how he felt about it, and then he dipped to go look for the next dude to pipe. Just then, Fuka appeared in her bikini and asked you to come play with her. They got into the sea, and as Fuka rode her dolphin float with you swimming behind, he noticed her backside and became embarrassed, but he was surprised that Fuka wasn't ashamed to show him that, so he thought maybe she just saw him as a friend whom she wouldn't allow to hit. He then asked her why she had suddenly decided to form a band, and she replied that he had advised her to make music. You said that he had thought she would go solo, and she mentioned that she thought it'd be cool singing with them. However, their conversation was interrupted by the strong wave, and Fuka began to drown. You quickly followed after her, but as he tried to save her, he went unconscious too. However, he woke up some moments later to a CPR from Fuka, shocking him that she kissed him, but she began to cry, as she was scared to lose him. Afterwards, you couldn't keep his focus as he couldn't stop remembering her kissing him, but he was surprised she didn't seem bothered about it and was still acting cool like it was just another kiss. He even saw her drinking from the same can Mikasa was drinking from and concluded that she was for the streets. A few moments later, she approached you and noticing he was acting weird, asked if this was about the rescue breathing. You replied that she wasn't bothered about it after all, as he looked away, but she revealed that she was bothered actually, as it was her first time shocking him. Then she made him promise not to tell this to anyone before walking away. Later that night, while you retired to his bed, thinking about the new secret between him and Fuka, then he received a message from Koyuki asking if they could meet since she was also close by due to a studio session she had on the beach. Seeing this, you got excited and ran to meet her immediately. And seeing her, they both were thrilled to see each other after a long time. Koyuki suggested they lit some fireworks, and while at it, you told her how much she was now out of his league due to her fame. But she replied that to him, she was still the same Koyuki, and so she wanted him to stay the same you she knew him to be. Then she talked about his decision to join a band, but their conversation quickly got interrupted by Wind-kun, which blew Koyuki's umbrella off and pushed her to use chest. Meanwhile, Fuka had left home to come look for you since she hadn't seen him, and Wind-kun tried winging Koyuki to you. Fuka appeared and was shocked to see her idol and you together. Fuka immediately turned back and ran off, and while you tried to go after her, Koyuki held him, surprising him. Fuka returned to the beach house all soaked, surprising Mikasa, who immediately told her she needed to change her clothes. As she headed inside, he asked about you, and she casually said she couldn't find him without looking back, leaving Mikasa suspicious that something was off. Meanwhile, Koyuki apologized for tripping over you, and then she asked if the girl earlier was the girl she was starting a band with, and you said yes, making Koyuki reply that Fuka must have gotten the wrong idea about them. The next day, you was sitting alone, thinking about what had happened, when Fuka appeared, so he tried to explain, but she just snubbed him, apologizing for interrupting them the previous day. You revealed that they were just childhood friends, and Fuka, angry, asked why he didn't tell her about it. While he tried shoving out an excuse from his backside, she just walked away and from then on continued to ignore him throughout the day. Later that evening, Mikasa met Fuka and asked what was wrong, but when she tried denying it, he told her being not straight didn't mean he was blind. So she said it was just a little fight. Meanwhile, Yu was seated by the beach, and he remembered a loving moment he had with Fuka 2 days before, so he thought he couldn't let this continue. He went to meet her and apologized for keeping his friendship with Koyuki away from her. But Fuka was like every typical girl who only accepted apologies after several tries. She walked out on him. She continued giving him cold shoulders, and at that moment, their teacher, Tomomi, one random idiot, and this dude who wouldn't stop disturbing Fuka to join the track team, Nashi, arrived. Bro started ranting about her joining the team again, but Mikasa stepped in to tell him not to force her to do what she didn't want to do. Fuka then announced that she formed a band which would grow to be as awesome as Hedgehogs, the most famous band in the city. The teacher blushed as she said this, and when Fuka asked her why she was blushing, you instantly figured that they were both in the Hedgehogs band, shocking him and Fuka. They also revealed that Yasen was one of them, causing Fuka to scream. Inside, Fuka and you started glazing them, and she asked about Tama and Nico, the vocalist and bassist of the group, and they replied that the two had gone AWOL, which was why the group was on hiatus now. Hearing this, Fuka asked Yasen to teach her band music when they returned to Tokyo and promised they would do their best to be like Hedgehogs. However, Nashi wasn't having it and insisted on her joining the track team, where she obviously had talent, unlike the band crap she was onto. You interrupted him and vouched that Fuka was a talented singer, surprising her, but Tomomi suggested they test her. The group immediately got on their individual instrument as Fuka grabbed the mic for some mouth work. Just before she started, Yasin called Yu and handed him a bass guitar, asking him to play it, but Bro said he had not even touched one before. However, Yasin just gave him some directives, and as he tried it, Mikasa came to hijack him. He asked Yu what was wrong between him and Fuka, and Yu expressed how lonely he felt without Fuka. He further said he really wanted to make up. Not knowing that Fuka was overhearing their conversation, Mikasa told him he should have told Fuka all these, as she also felt the same toward him. He soon walked away after telling them to settle things, and Fuka appeared. He realized he had talked too much, more like a confession, and Fuka shyly fist bumped him. They both apologized to each other, and Fuka, still embarrassed, turned to leave, but she thanked him for supporting her earlier. Following that, Yu grabbed the bass along with the others, and Fuka stepped up to start singing. Yu was awestruck as he watched her sing that he suddenly began to grow wings out of her body. Meanwhile, Koyuki heard the ongoing performance of the song High Climbers from afar and was surprised, wondering if a live band was there. The people on the beach heard this also and were fascinated by the voice, so they ran toward the scene to see what was happening. When Fuka finished, she suddenly heard loud applause and was shocked to see everyone cheering her. Afterwards, Fuka got Yasan's approval and bragged to Nashi about it, but Nachi still remained adamant. Then Mikasa pointed out that he had noticed him tapping his fingers to the rhythm of the song earlier. Nashi got embarrassed and said it was just a habit he learned from when his brother made him play drums for his band. Hearing this, Fuka immediately named him the drummer of the band, shocking him. She made Yu the bassist and Mikasa the pianist while she handled the guitar. Later that night, Fuka sat outside looking at the stars when Yu joined her, since this was their last day at the beach house. Fuka suddenly got cold and Yu offered her half of his jacket, but things immediately went south as Yu accidentally fell on her with his hand on her bazookas. As the dude tried to apologize, she gave him a smack. Some days later, Tama visited Yu at his home, and they spent some time reliving their childhood memories. Yu complained about how Tama used to yell at him a lot, making her feel guilty, but when he noticed she wasn't so cool about it, he agreed he must have been the one with the problem. Yu soon saw a picture they took the day before Fuka suddenly disappeared. Tama apologized for not saying goodbye, and he replied that he regretted back then that he never got to tell her he liked her. She instantly became embarrassed and left, leaving Yu thinking he had just done the wrong thing. As Tama walked home, she was excited, realizing that her feelings were not one-sided after all. The next day at school, Mikasa began to tease Nashi about his new role in the band he was so much against, and while Nashi whined about the whole thing, Yu couldn't stop thinking about what he said the previous night. He wondered if he shouldn't have said it, seeing that Tama had not messaged him since then. Just then, Fuka suddenly greeted him with a hard slap to his back and asked what they were all talking about. He replied that they were discussing their memories from the summer break, including the moment he almost drowned. Hearing this, Fuka instantly remembered kissing him and became embarrassed. Yu quickly apologized, leaving Nachi and Mikasa confused. During lunch break, Fuka informed Yu and Mikasa that Hizashi from the Hedgehogs had decided to teach them music, also offering to loan them some instruments till they could play them so well and buy their own. As they carried their lunch, looking for a table, Fuka saw a table with a very pretty chick already sitting there and asked if they could join, but she just stood up and left. However, the group just admired her as she walked away. Following this, they met Hizashi in the studio to start their band rehearsal, but Hizashi was disappointed in how terrible they were, especially Mikasa and Nashi. Yu was even more disappointed in Nachi, who had claimed that he used to play in his brother's band. As she lamented about this, some dudes came to give a report that left Hizashi sad, prompting Fuka to ask what was wrong. He revealed that his sister had just been kicked out of another band, and when they went to check where she was, they discovered it was the same girl they saw earlier at the cafeteria. Hizashi mentioned that his sister, Sarah, was good with the guitar but bad with communication, which had made 3 different bands evict her. Hearing this, Fuka immediately entered the studio to ask her to join their band. At the same time, Yu tried to stop her but ended up face-planting into her melons,
Yeah, boy.
causing a quick reactive slap to his stupid face. She then accepted Fuka's offer, but during the following practice, she wouldn't stop giving Yu a cold look that made him almost piss his pants. This made Yu fumble in his bass practice so much that Sarah started trolling him, asking him to give up already since he was too dumb to learn. At that moment, the other members suggested that they call it a day, and they all headed to a cafe to celebrate their first practice. At the cafe, Yu still kept on staring at Sarah, feeling nervous seeing her around. Fuka suggested they practice with a particular song from the Hedgehog, but Sarah said the bass was difficult to deliberately troll Yu, causing him to spill his juice. Just then, everyone excused themselves, leaving Yu and Sarah alone at the table. He got nervous as he tried talking to her, but she became more comfortable and placed an order, surprising Yu. However, he just sat down there the whole time, wondering if he should talk to her or not. He decided to tweet about the awkward atmosphere, and one Yamato replied to him, asking him to try talking to her. Yu decided to just apologize for almost eating her melons earlier, but he suddenly heard a camera shutter sound, surprising him. While he wondered if she was posting his apology for the world to see, he suddenly noticed that Yamato uploaded a pic of her ice cream, which turned out to be the same one as before Sarah. He wondered what was going on and decided to ask Yamato if she was in front of him right now, shocking Sarah as she instantly realized he was the Yu she had been chatting with. Her mood changed instantly as she expressed how excited she was to finally meet him, and Yu just watched with wide eyes. Later, as they stepped out of the cafe, she said she had been trying to apologize for how she treated him earlier that day, and mentioned that her words just always came out wrong, which had given people the wrong idea about her, the main reason she had been sent out of 3 bands. You realized that she was just like him, and told her that he also had troubles communicating with people. They went home after that, with Sarah engaging Yu in some chit-chat he was obviously not interested in. Afterward, everyone decided to start practicing on their own, and a few days later, the day of their practice, Yu left home with his guitar. On his way, he met Sarah, who teased him about his looks with the guitar, embarrassing him, and he ran off. They soon got to the studio location and realized that it was booked. While they thought of canceling practice for that day, Nachi volunteered they come to his house. Getting to his home, they were surprised at how great the studio there was, and he revealed that this was where his brother and his band used to practice in the past. They practiced a song and were all surprised by their unified performance, and Fuka stated that they will practice more songs until they can perfectly perform them. Meanwhile, Yu felt so excited that the band was actually more fun than he imagined. Suddenly, Fuka revealed that when they get better, they will perform at the school fair in the next 2 months. Meanwhile, Koyuki was having a hard time in the studio that day as she couldn't keep her mind on the song. After the studio session, on her way home, she apologized to her manager, but she told her not to worry about it. As she sat in silence, she remembered Yu telling her his regret about now confessing his feelings for her when they were young. Her mind then drifted to the past, back to the days when she and Yu were still youngjins. She remembered when they were climbing a ladder and getting scraped, and how Yu would nervously patch her up and smiled. As they parted that day, she waved at him and smiled as he went to meet her mom. She really loved being around him. However, at home, things got dark due to the constant fights between her parents. The next day, while they both spent time together at a park, Yu asked her if she wasn't going home yet, but she told him she wanted to stay a little longer. She then asked him if he knew whether it would snow that year or not, but he wasn't sure since it had never snowed in that town. However, he suggested that if it did snow, they should make a snowman and an igloo. Just then, Koyuki decided to sing a part of a song which Yu immediately recognized, as he got excited because it belonged to his favorite music band, Hedgehogs. He complimented that she sounded just like Tama, the vocalist, and since his favorite person in the band was Nico, the bassist, he suggested they call each other Tama and Nico, promising to form a band just like Hedgehogs one day and perform on the same stage. That night, snow fell for the first time in that town for the ease of the anime plot. However, when Yu tried calling her the next morning to show her the snowman he had made, Koyuki didn't respond because she was very sad. Her dad had informed her that he wouldn't be living with them anymore, so she and her mom would have to move out of town. This made her really sad, and she cried as she thought that she didn't ever want to be separated from Yu. Later, on her way back, Yu came to drag her to show her the snowman, and seeing that their promise to each other had come true, she began to cry, leaving Yu confused because he didn't know what the heck was happening. The next day, Koyuki left town with her mom without a chance of saying proper goodbye because she didn't want to cry upon seeing Yu again. Back to the present, Koyuki, now home, thought that she had to be stronger so that whenever she saw Yu again, she would tell him everything. So she went to her manager's office to get a ticket to her Christmas concert and then visited Yu to invite him. She also apologized for leaving abruptly that day and said she didn't message him after because she thought he hated her. Yu revealed that he didn't email her either because he had thought the same thing, making her angry that they were just distant for no reason. Afterward, he told her about his new band and how he had been practicing a lot, surprising her. Koyuki asked if it was with the same girl he had told her about, and he said yes before going on to rant about how good and fun to be with she was. He also mentioned that she was a talented singer, revealing she had sung the other day when they were on the beach. Hearing this, Koyuki instantly remembered she had heard the performance that day and suddenly stood up to leave, claiming she still had work to do. As she parted from him, he told her he was just happy to be friends again, surprising her, and then she told him they should renew their pinky promise to perform on the same stage someday. Not long after, as Koyuki walked home, she got thinking, wondering what she was doing, but a truck suddenly interrupted when it passed and drenched her in dirty water. Just then, Fuka ran by and recognized her. She immediately offered to help, but while Koyuki tried to decline, Fuka grabbed her and pulled her along to the bathhouse under her apartment so she could clean up. However, Koyuki still couldn't understand what she was doing. While Koyuki entered the bathhouse, Fuka came in also and offered to teach her how to use the baths since it was Koyuki's first time being there. She washed Koyuki's back for her, with both of them showing their uncensored plots, so you have something to goon to today. Following that, while they soaked in the hot water, Fuka couldn't stop gushing about being her biggest fan and how her lyrics even made her cry. She asked Koyuki how she wrote songs, saying she also had a band and wanted to make original songs too. Koyuki tried avoiding it, saying her music wouldn't really benefit her since she didn't have a band. However, when Fuka insisted she wanted to write songs like hers, she shyly admitted that all her lyrics were inspired by her unrequited love for a boy for a very long time. Fuka still admired her anyway, saying her lyrics showed that she really loved the boy and poured everything into her music. Koyuki revealed more about her love and asked Fuka if she loved anyone, but she denied it, saying she had not even thought about going into a relationship before. However, Fuka finally told her she was rooting for her and hoped that she would also learn what it felt like to love someone one day. Their bath soon ended, and Koyuki went home smiling at her new friendship. Meanwhile, in a nearby coffee shop, two random guys looked at the photo they had taken of Koyuki and you pinky promising in front of his house. One of them grinned, already imagining how explosive the picture would be if posted online. The band practice continued the next day, and on their way home after the practice, Fuka excitedly shared her experience with Koyuki the previous day, surprising him. He also attempted to inform her about Koyuki's invitation to him to one of her concerts, but Fuka crossed the road so she didn't hear him. The following day began in chaos for Yu as he was jolted awake by his sisters chattering because a photo of him and Koyuki pinky promising outside. Their house had gone viral, shocking him. They asked him what he was doing with her, and he tried explaining that Koyuki had visited him to invite him to a concert, but his sister called him an idiot for doing that right on the street. She stated how he ought to have been careful, seeing that Koyuki was a celebrity. His younger sister also revealed that the image was everywhere on Twitter with 100,000 retweets, which made you realize he was now in a deep mess. Getting to school, he sighed hard as he entered his class. Prepared to face whatever was coming behind that door, he opened the door, and seeing him, his classmates rushed over to him, demanding to know what his relationship with Koyuki was. At that moment, he noticed Fuka's expression, and he became clueless about what to do. Meanwhile, at Koyuki's agency, her manager scolded her for being careless and then told her that, according to the agency's policies, they would deny it was her in the picture and refuse to comment on the situation to wrap things up. However, the manager warned that while it was her choice to be friends with anyone she wanted, she needed to be careful because her decisions would affect them. At the school's rooftop, Fuka remembered Koyuki telling her about her unrequited love, but she was quickly interrupted by Yu, who revealed that his Twitter account had now blown up due to the whole paparazzi. He mentioned that he was happy it didn't bother her much, unlike the others, but she cut him off, telling him she had nothing to say to him. Realizing she was mad, he apologized that this was happening just a day before their concert, but Fuka said she wasn't mad because of that. She then asked him why he didn't tell her he had also met with Koyuki when she told him they met, and Yu explained that he didn't try to keep it from her. Koyuki had only come to invite her to a concert. He apologized and tried talking about how he and Koyuki had just recently reconnected since they were young, and how he was happy to be friends with her again, but Fuka immediately changed the subject to the concert they had the next day. Following that, Koyuki found a tweet from Yu explaining that they were just friends and apologizing for upsetting everyone. This made her sad, and in a public announcement, she talked about her upcoming song, saying she wrote it from personal experience. She revealed that the song was about her childhood friend who also doubled as her unrequited love, but she clarified that there was nothing between them, so they shouldn't make things hard for him. Seeing this, Yu got embarrassed and sat in a corner, thinking about his miserable life. He apologized to his band members for causing such chaos, but Nachi told him not to worry about it and should be more concerned about not flopping his part during the performance. Yu tried informing them that since he had tweeted about their concert, some hooligans had threatened to come and ruin their performance the next day, but they all told him not to mind the idiots saying such. Fuka gave her final speech, encouraging them to focus on putting their best in the performance since they had practiced so hard to allow something random to disrupt it. Meanwhile, Nashi almost beat himself up that night for talking earlier like someone who was so invested in the band. Unlike when he was ardently against it initially, that same night, Mikasa headed home. Fully optimistic about his new purpose, he was determined not to turn back at this point, unlike when his dad once made him stop music when he was younger. At the same time, Sarah was doom-scrolling on Twitter and thought that you didn't do anything wrong to deserve such opposition. Then she expressed to her brother how much she loved playing with her new bandmates, as they were the first people who ever said she was one of them. She further stated her desire to protect them and asked Hizashi what to do, but he shockingly revealed that when they started Hedgehog back then, they received a lot of criticism, as even some dudes came to throw bottles at them. Curious, she asked what he did, and he replied that he just shut them with his guitar still playing, and she was surprised at his aura farming game. At home, Yu kept receiving threats from his audience, and he became really disturbed, wondering why Koyuki had said that in public. At that moment, his mom walked in to tell him to go take his bath. She mentioned that she heard about his concert, shocking him, and as she left his room, she told him that during his performance, he should remember there were 3 people who loved him and were rooting for him. After she left, he also received a text from Yasun telling him he was coming along with Hizashi to the concert to see how much they had improved. It was at that moment that he realized that the online community he had always been faithful to would never love him like his family and friends in real life, and so he became determined to show them his best. Fuka and her band stepped onto the school fair stage, facing a sea of angry faces, and the Hedgehogs watched to see what was really gonna happen, but they were quite impressed that they showed up. Jeers echoed through the auditorium as soon as you appeared, and just as they attempted to start their performance, a dude from the crowd hurled a glass bottle at them that smashed into Yu's head, splitting his forehead and snapping the neck of his bass. Blood trickled down Yu's head as the band froze. Another moron attempted to throw another bottle, but one of Yu's sisters rushed forward to defend him, but they grabbed her and threatened to make her a scapegoat. They were all asking Yu to apologize. Meanwhile, hidden among the spectators, Koyuki watched in horror, and seeing that things were about to turn into a full-scale brawl, she removed her hat, saying if they wanted an apology, she'd give that instead. Seeing her, all the students began to press into her, scaring Yu, who immediately tried to act. But Nachi told him it wasn't going to make any difference. However, a few moments later, the auditorium lights flickered off, and Fuka and her band used the opportunity to aura farm for a moment before suddenly starting their performance. At this point, Yasun had given Yu Nico's old bass as a replacement, surprising the other Hedgehogs crew. The performance blew everyone's mind, and the boos died down immediately as everyone began to admire them. After their first song, a cheerful noise filled the hall, and Yu was shocked that the atmosphere had changed. Suddenly, Fuka asked Koyuki to join her on the stage so they could sing together. Koyuki accepted the invite and took a mic as they both began the next song. Yu was impressed as this made him remember the first time he heard both of them sing, and after the second performance, Fuka expressed her excitement in finally fulfilling her dream of singing alongside her. As the crowd echoed in excitement, Koyuki decided to apologize for causing all the trouble that happened with her careless statement. She stated that Yu and her family were not at fault, but she was to blame. However, a student suddenly screamed from the crowd that she didn't have to apologize since she had only confessed how she felt to the guy she loved. Everyone agreed, and they all celebrated her. After the performance, the band celebrated their first concert success, complimenting one another on their individual performance. Then the discussion came down to what their band would be called going forward. Mikasa brought out his pen to write each person's name, and based on the meaning of Fuka's surname, they decided to call the group the Fallen Moon, which made Fuka rebut in disagreement, saying it would make it seem she was egoistic and forced her name on everyone. But nobody gave it a second thought, leaving her embarrassed. Following that, Nachi discovered a video of their concert was posted online and had gained a lot of views. They thought Koyuki's presence must have influenced it, but Yu mentioned that her manager had taken her away immediately after the show and wondered if she was fine. Meanwhile, at Koyuki's agency, she was looking like someone had stolen her milk when her manager came with the news that they had been scolded by the president. Koyuki apologized for what happened, but her manager told her not to worry about it. However, she asked Koyuki to promise not to act irrationally like that again, and also that she wouldn't contact Yu for a while so it wouldn't cause another big fuss and put her in danger. At that moment, Yu tried calling her, but she didn't pick up. Some days later, while the Fallen Moon ate together at the cafe, Yu was worried about Koyuki since he hadn't heard from her since their performance. Just then, they saw on the news that Koyuki's appointments and TV appearances were being canceled due to what happened the other day. Yu tried calling her many more times, but she still wasn't picking up, which made him very worried. She went for her Christmas concert rehearsal next, and since this was the only work she had left after all the canceled schedules, she thought she had to put her best into this for the fans who loved her music. However, as she tried to sing, her vocal cords failed her, landing her in the hospital. Her manager soon appeared and told her the president had requested she wouldn't do any singing work for a while, including the Christmas concert, shocking her, but as she tried protesting against it, her manager told her the doctor had said she was stressed, so she needed to rest. This made her sad, but even though you kept on calling her, she still wasn't picking up. Later that night, while Yu continued trying his luck, his sister came with a report that Koyuki's Christmas concert had been cancelled and she was going to be on hiatus for a while, making him even more worried. He tried calling her again, and luckily, this time she picked up, but she abruptly told him she was fine and hung up. Knowing that there was no way she was fine, he dressed up immediately and ran out to search for her. He couldn't help back then when she was hurting, but this time he wasn't going to let her go. He managed to find her at the beach where they met the other day and asked about the hiatus. She told him her voice wouldn't just work, and then apologized for loving him as tears rolled down her cheeks. Seeing this, Yu lunged at her and embraced her tightly. The next day, Yu stood near the ticket gate of a bustling Tokyo train station, fidgeting with his phone and occasionally glancing up. He suddenly felt a tap, and turning around to see who it was, he saw a girl with a ski mask, and she turned out to be Koyuki, shocking him. They began their date with a trip to a small town called Little Edo. However, he told her he was surprised she picked somewhere like this, and she replied that she had come here for some of her shoots in the past. Just then, she suddenly pulled him and ran to the Bell of Time Tower before it rang. Yu was surprised to see this, and Koyuki mentioned that there was a myth that any couple who heard it ring together would be connected forever. Yu wondered what she meant by that, but she quickly brushed it off, saying she was only joking. The bell soon started to ring, and Koyuki slowly grabbed his hand, instantly turning him red. On their way back, Yu asked her if her voice was now better, and she replied yes. Then she told him she realized something in all of this. Being able to sing made her so happy, and she really enjoyed her job. Yu replied that he couldn't relate, but she told him that when his band became a job, he would understand. Hearing this, he thought that this meant going pro, but he immediately doubted if that was even possible. She reminded him about their pinky promise to one day stand on the same stage. He told her he never forgot, and smiling, she told him that she was sure music would be his job one day too, instantly lifting his mood. They headed to a small cafe after this, and while they ate, Yu noticed Koyuki's autograph on the wall, surprising because he had not seen it before. He told her he always seemed to forget she was a celebrity whenever he was with her. However, he further said that in his eyes, she was still the same Koyuki he had always known since childhood. She replied that she loved it that way, and then apologized for all the trouble she had caused everyone in the past months. Yu tried to convince her that she wasn't at fault, but she told him she had been selfish, thinking only about herself. However, she was glad that her fans stayed true to her and gave her the strength to get back on her feet. She also mentioned she could only continue singing because he was there, and she hoped he would be with her forever. The date soon came to an end since Yu had to go for his band rehearsal, and as he separated from Koyuki, she told him they should go to a place of his choice on their next date. On Yu's way back, he realized he was running late, so he texted his band. But he was worried that Fuka would be mad and wished he'd just get a phone. He barged into the studio later and apologized for being late, but Nachi teased that he shouldn't complain when he got with his girlfriend too. Meanwhile, Fuka didn't say anything about his lateness and asked that they get to the rehearsal already, shocking Yu because he had expected she would be mad. However, she told him there was no point wasting her emotions since the other bandmates had spoken already, but Mikasa thought something was off about her. After the rehearsal, the group told Yu Hizashi had connected them to a live music club so they could explore and hone their skills, which meant they were having their first performance as the Fallen Moon soon. They all wondered what song they should perform this time, and while they considered Hedgehogs' cover again, Fuka told them she had something to discuss with them. She later revealed at their usual meeting spot that she wanted them to write an original song, shocking them. Nashi asked who would write it, and Fuka said she would, surprising Yu, who didn't believe she could. Sarah reminded her that she couldn't play any instrument, but she replied that it wouldn't be a problem as long as she could sing. They asked how she wrote it, and the idiot proceeded to hum. However, after much sales pitch, they agreed to support the idea of having their first original song. Just then, Yu received a call from Koyuki and stepped out, which made Fuka a bit jealous. Bro spent some time outside, and Fuka had to come check on him, but she became even more jealous when she overheard him talking to Koyuki. Following that, Fuka came up with the melody of her new song, but when it was time to write the lyrics, it felt like calculus. While at this, she remembered Nachi teasing Yu about Koyuki and Yu's call with Koyuki, which made her jealous again, so she decided to switch location. Perhaps she would get inspiration, but she kept remembering Koyuki's words. The next day, Fuka appeared before the crew with the complete melody, and the group loved it. However, she continued to struggle with finding the perfect lyrics for the song, and had to apologize to her team after delaying for some days. Later that night, while Yu practiced the new song, he got a call from Koyuki, and he gladly told her about the new song they were working on, surprising her. However, Yu informed her that Fuka was still working on the lyrics, which instantly reminded her of when Fuka was asking about the secrets of her lyrics the other day. She soon told Yu she was going off, But before she did, she asked if they could meet the next day. The next day, Hisashi asked to meet Fuka in a cafe. He introduced her to a music producer named Mogami, who was said to be an expert in the field, exciting her. Mogami showed her the video of their performance at the school fair and started to praise her, saying she had a lot of potential. He then asked if she wanted to go pro, making her speechless. She asked if the offer was for her band, but he said no, saying he was only interested in her voice, but she instantly declined without a second thought. She told him she would love to remain in her band, shocking him, but he told her to reach him through his business card whenever she changed her mind, to which Fuka replied that it was never going to happen. She left the cafe, but upon cutting a corner, she saw Yu and Koyuki having a nice time together, and she quickly hid. However, she became confused why her chest suddenly felt tight. It was a feeling she didn't like. After watching them for a while, she got so jealous and ran off to the studio, looking a bit lost. Yu soon arrived, panting from running since he was already almost late again. Nachi grabbed him and started teasing him about Koyuki again, which made Fuka even more sad. Nechi then asked Fuka about her progress with the lyrics, but she told him to give her more time. Nachi tried to encourage her to do it on time, but Mikasa told him he was only putting more pressure on her. Yu asked Fuka if anything was wrong, telling her he was willing to assist if she needed help. However, this sounded cringe to her, and she yelled that he should leave her alone, but she quickly covered it with the fact that he was going to make her feel rushed. Yu went speechless. Later that night, while he practiced alone, he remembered Fuka's yell and became worried, so he decided to call her to apologize for being so insensitive earlier. He then told her not to rush it and to take as much time as she wanted. After the call, Fuka folded on her bed, thinking Yu's niceness wasn't helping matters. She then stared at the business card Mogami had handed her earlier that day. Meanwhile, Koyuki called Yu to tell her she would be coming to his band's gig, so he thought he had to practice more to impress her. She then asked about the song's progress, but Yu told her Fuka was still having difficulty writing the lyrics. He asked her about her own method for writing lyrics. Perhaps it would be useful for Fuka too. However, Koyuki sharply replied that all her lyrics were written about the person she loved, which Fuka had told her she didn't have, so the method wouldn't help her. After the call, Koyuki sighed as she thought that this couldn't continue. That night, while Yu took a bath, she finally realized what Koyuki was saying that night they were together, so she stood up and went to her room. Now, she was prepared to write her lyrics. By the next day, she had already completed the song, and while she listened to it at her usual spot, she realized she had fallen in love with Yu, which caused tears to roll down her cheeks. Yu appeared at that moment, and she quickly wiped her face before going to meet him. She played the completed song for him to listen to, and Yu was excited to hear it was done. As the other bandmates arrived, the day of their performance came, and while Yu and Nachi were supported by their families as they stepped out, Mikasa received a different response from his father. His father told him he would disown him if he didn't wake up from his useless music dream, but Mikasa replied that this was the most important thing to him, and he wasn't going to give it up as he walked away. Meanwhile, after Sarah left home, Yasen suddenly appeared and took Hisashi to meet Tama and Nico, who had mysteriously disappeared for 6 years. They told him they had something to talk about. On the other side of the city, Fuka was on her way to meet her bandmates, and tied to her bag was the tag she had been carrying along with her everywhere. But as she crossed the road, it dropped. Realizing this, she quickly ran back to go pick it, but completely unaware that she was about to become Truck-kun's 100th victim. However, the driver managed to hit the brakes, stopping right before her, but the tag had been destroyed. Scared, she ran to the other side without the tag, but then she decided to leave it behind and forget about it, because what was the point? She joined with her team, and afterward, they made a team huddle and stepped up to the stage, hoping to have the best performance ever. They started their performance with one of the Hedgehogs' top songs, and as they performed, the complete Hedgehogs team was present and amazed. Tama commended Fuka's voice, and the others just vibed along. Hisashi revealed that Fuka had turned down Mogami's offer, shocking Nico, but he retorted that it was just another wasted opportunity, even though Hisashi thought it was cool. Meanwhile, Mogami was also at the show, sad as he thought that a great talent with huge potential was about to be wasted. A few moments later, Koyuki arrived and watched their performance. After the second song, Fuka nervously announced they would now sing their first original song, and they started. Koyuki was shocked by the lyrics. By this time, Mogami was already exiting the hall because he couldn't take it anymore, but the Hedgehogs just admired the Yunjins. After the performance, the crowd cheered them, and returning to the green room, Nachi came with some good news that they'd been asked to play in another show. The team got excited and thought they needed to start preparing for it, but on the other hand, Fuka was silent. They asked her what was wrong, and she summoned the courage to tell them she had been scouted and was considering making her solo debut. This meant she was leaving the fallen moon, and hearing this made Nachi mad because they were just getting started with the band. She said it was her dream, and she didn't think a band would help her achieve that. Sarah commented that the band could not continue with her, but added that she wasn't going to hinder her from her dream. Mikasa also agreed, and Nachi angrily kicked the trash can before asking Yu what he thought, but Yu was too shocked to talk. He wondered what was wrong, but finally added that since that was what she wanted, he wasn't going to go against it. However, when he got home, he thought about this and was very sad that it turned out this way. Meanwhile, Fuka met Mogami to get the contract documents, and while she looked through them, he asked why she had suddenly changed her mind even though she had initially turned down his offer without hesitation. She went silent for a moment before telling him she believed she had made the right choice. The next day, Yu was still sad as he sat on the rooftop. He received a call from Koyuki telling him how she had been traveling a lot, and he just gave passive responses, which made Koyuki ask if he was fine, but he told her there was nothing. Some days later, the band met, but this time without Fuka, and Nachi was still agitated, wondering what the point of the meeting was. He finally agreed that this was their last goodbye and said he might just have to go back to the track team he had been running away from. He thought the band was a thing, but now that he thought about it, he couldn't help but laugh. Mikasa, however, said he couldn't relate because he had nothing to go back to. Yu was silent, and seeing him, Nachi tried to assault him for not stopping Fuka, but Mikasa and Sarah intervened. After that, Nachi left angrily, while Yu just stared like he were about to cry. At a different location, Fuka had started rehearsing for her solo debut, and after that day's session, Mogami complimented her, but even though she was visibly not happy, she convinced herself that this was the best decision. Back at home, Sarah joined her brother in the living room and realized that the Hedgehogs were now coming back together since Tama and Nico were back. Hisashi asked if she wanted to sub for other bands and then informed her about a particular band that needed a guitarist. Sarah stalled for a moment and agreed, shocking Hisashi because he didn't expect her to agree that quickly, but he felt sorry since he was the one who introduced Fuka to Mogami. Mikasa also moved back home even though he had initially packed out to pursue music. His sister asked why he was accepting defeat and choosing the part their dad wanted for him, but he told her it is what it is. Koyuki visited Yu, and he explained the rift that had happened in their band, which had caused a hole in everyone's heart. Koyuki, however, said maybe it happened for the best, surprising him, and she further said he could still pursue music anyway. She then reminded him about their promise to perform on the same stage, and while Yu tried to talk, she pushed him to the bed as she unleashed her juicy melons, telling him this was what she wanted as long as he would be with her forever. But Yu was too innocent, and seeing his reluctance, she stopped, telling him she had always known it would never be her. She told him she knew about the feelings he didn't realize he had, and Fuka's feelings too. She finally told him to be honest with himself and then walked away, sad. Yu sat down in his room after, and as he unpacked, he suddenly found the tag Fuka had given him. So that night, a new passion was ignited in him, and he started working on writing a song immediately. He remained in his room all through without stepping out, which made his sisters worried, thinking Koyuki had dumped him. The next day, he had completed the song, and he stepped out immediately to go meet Nachi. He asked him to come back to the band, but he refused, saying he was now fully back on the track team. However, Yu gave him a CD of the song he wrote and told him to listen. Yu met with Mikasa next, and even though he refused because he had chosen to live the way his dad wanted him to, which probably guaranteed a happy future, Yu insisted that he listen to his song. He also met Sarah and did the same, telling her he wasn't giving up anyway despite her excuses. Finally, he came to Fuka's doorstep, but when she refused to open the door, he dropped it by her entrance and left. The next day, he waited at the restaurant they used to meet because he had told them to meet him there by 3 p.m. if his song moved their hearts in the slightest. It was almost 3, and he thought he had failed, but Sarah suddenly showed up, giving him hope. Then Mikasa showed up next, telling him the song was superb, and he had even scored the music sheet. Nachi soon came in too, and while they expected Fuka, they thought they had better go practice before their vocalist arrived. Following this, they all played their individual parts, excited to be united again. But in all of this, Fuka didn't show up. Later that evening, Yu met Koyuki to appreciate her for pushing him to take this step, and she replied that she was happy he found what was important to him. Yu apologized for disappointing her, but she told him he didn't have to, and then stood up to thank him for everything. Meanwhile, Fuka folded in her room with the CD in her hand, unsure of what she really wanted. The band kept rehearsing without a vocalist, and after the session, Sarah told them her brother got a call from the club they performed at the other day, asking them to come there again. Yu agreed to this, but they couldn't do this without a vocalist. However, Yu swore that he would bring Fuka back at all costs. That night, you sent Fuka telling her they had a gig in 2 weeks and just wanted to see her so they could talk, but she ignored it. She took a glance at the CD again and said she could not go back as she wasn't supposed to be near him. However, her mom wasn't satisfied with her mood and knew she was only capping about her feelings. She stepped out to get water, but suddenly came across Koyuki. Koyuki congratulated her on her decision to have her solo debut, but told her that she had broken up with you. Surprising her, she further said she really loved you, which made her blind to how he really felt. And hearing Fuka sing her song at the club that night really resonated with her. Fuka tried to deny writing the lyrics because of how she felt for you, but Koyuki told her to be honest with herself, as it would only make things worse for her if she didn't. Koyuki walked away, leaving Fuka thinking she was still very much confused. Meanwhile, the rest of the band finished the rehearsal session that day, and Yu immediately set out on his way to Fuka's house. Mikasa told Nachi that Yu had been unrelentlessly visiting Fuka every day after rehearsals because Fuka had also been absent from school. Nachi wondered if they should go to her house too, but Mikasa replied that they should let Yu handle it, and in the meantime, they continued practicing till Fuka returned. Yu met Fuka's mom, but he found out she was not yet back home that evening, so he left a CD and a note for her. When Fuka returned home that night, she found her mom watching the video of the Fallen Moon's last performance. Shocking her, her mom told her she had not seen her smile in a while and then advised that she had to be true to whatever she felt in her heart. She finally handed her the note you left for her, and when Fuka later read it, she became more emotional as Yu was literally begging her to listen to his song and saying how much he wanted her on it. On the day of the performance, they realized that all their attempts to get Fuka back didn't work, and while the others considered going to tell the club owner, they were opting out. Yu asked for one more chance to convince Fuka. He promised to bring her back by the time it was their turn, and the group supported him. Yu ran off immediately on the search for Fuka. He didn't find her at home, but he didn't give up and continued, even without knowing where to find her. As he ran, he suddenly paused when a familiar breeze swept across his face. That wind reminded him of their very first meeting, and at once, he knew where to find her. On the school rooftop, Fuka stood alone with her hair gently blowing in the wind. Her face carried a look of hesitation and sadness. You found her there and called out. He told her that the band needed her and that things hadn't felt the same since she left. Fuka turned to him in surprise, admitting that she had been scared to come back. She thought everyone might be angry and that her selfish choice had hurt the group beyond repair. You struggled to find the right words, but then blurted out a simple truth. He told her he loved her. The words caught Fuka off guard, but she responded without delay and told him she loved him too, and afterward they hugged. Meanwhile, back at the club, it was almost the Fallen Moon's turn to be called upstage, and the group was already freaking out, thinking that you didn't succeed, but suddenly, the two lovers appeared panting like they had been running a marathon. Fuka stepped forward and apologized to the rest of the band for leaving them behind, and her teammates forgave her without hesitation. Now, the group had become whole again. Without wasting a moment, they took the stage and performed their first original song. Then before they performed the second song, the one you wrote, Fuka decided to waste some screen time motivating the audience that whenever they were at a crossroad, they should go wherever the wind led them. She began the song titled Fair Wind, and as she delightfully sang it, you almost finished from staring at her while stroking his guitar. The audience responded with applause and energy, swept up in the reunion of the band, and even the Hedgehogs watching from the back looked on with admiration. After their performance, Yu and Fuka began dating, and with their both tags now restored, they ran around the city while no one was chasing. Following that, Fuka visited Mogami, and to her surprise, he gave her a contract to debut the Fallen Moon as a professional band. Even the Hedgehogs returned from their hiatus and resumed performing. In the end, Yu and Fuka visited a peaceful shrine, and together, they stood before the offering box and prayed. On their way back, Fuka asked what Yu had wished for, and he told her honestly that he prayed he would get better with his bass and that they would always be together. Blushing, Fuka nodded and told him they should be together from now on till forever. If you enjoyed this recap, smash the like button and comment sad in the comments section. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're yet to for more action, plot-filled adventures. If you want another anime recap like this, watch this video right here.